Hi, everybody. Welcome to yoga today. I'm going to say I was stumped on what to call this one. I sent out in the email. I couldn't come up with a creative name. I was like, oh. So what we're doing is yoga for our sexual health. And I just went with that, like the super clinical, boring name, yoga for sexual health. Like, how boring is that? And then one of you got back to me with an awesome name. So I'm going to switch the name. Mojo Yoga.
Mojo.
Yeah, let's get our mojo working. There we go. I'm just going to mute you, Pauline. Mute all. Thank you. Back to me. There we go. Yeah, so I thought that was a much better name than mine. And basically, you're kind of probably thinking, what the heck is she going to have us doing now? Nothing different, right? Basically, we're always kind of doing the same thing, but our intention changes. That's what the themes are all about. So with this, no matter what stage of the game you're at, right? You're sexually active, you're a virgin, or you're celibate, maybe by choice or by circumstance, this is going to be a great class to get circulation flowing, not only into our reproductive organs, but our pelvis and our hips. And also it's, you know, like we're going to approach this from a sense of wholeness, because really sexual health is not just about our genitals. I'm sure a lot of you know that it comes from what's in here and what's in here, right? So reducing stress, just taking time for ourselves to connect to ourselves is going to keep us healthy for longer. All right, so let's dive in. So make sure you have a block. Those of you that are doing the recording, you're going to want your yoga block or something similar. A firm pillow would be great. Have it close by, and then lie down on your back. We're going to get our mojo flowing. So just lie down, getting comfortable. You have your block nearby. You don't need it right now. And your legs might be long or your knees might be bent. And you're making your little adjustments to make sure that you're truly, legitimately comfortable, not this fake, yeah, I'm fine kind of comfortable. And let's just start by saying hello to our reproductive organs. Okay, so if you're familiar with Mula Bandha, where you draw your pelvic floor up, you just kind of give a little squeeze, right? As if you were stopping yourself from peeing your pants. That's basically kind of what Mula Bandha is, in super crude instructions. And so just give a couple squeezes of, you're trying to stop that urine, right? That's Mula Bandha. And just say hello. And it's so good for getting circulation into our reproductive organs, no matter what kind of organs we have. And then you can just let that go. And I want you to close your eyes. And just start to find your breath. Right, bringing conscious awareness to our breath. You could start to ground yourself, maybe feeling how you come into contact with the earth. And we're going to do a little mental exercise to kind of grasp this concept of wholeness. Right? So I am whole no matter what's going on in my life. And I have to admit, truth bomb, this was a hard concept for me to grasp. So in your mind, just as you're letting yourself be here, you're letting yourself fidget, breathe, or be still. In your mind, I want you to draw a little circle. Okay, and then around that little circle, draw a bigger circle. It kind of looks like a booby, if you're anything like my mind. All right, and let's label that little diagram. We're not going to label it booby, but imagine the little circle inside. Imagine that's your wholeness. And the bigger circle surrounding it, you could imagine that that's your ego or your personality. That's your survival pattern, right? All these things that we maybe want to change about ourselves. And just see how that kind of lands in your body. Like, yes, there is a little piece of me inside that is whole. And how does that feel? I mean, really check in with your body. How does it embrace that idea? Does it brace? Does it relax, soften? And then let's draw another little circle beside that other little booby over next to it, another booby. A little circle with a bigger circle around it. But this time we're going to switch the labels. Okay, so the little circle inside, those are your survival patterns. So that's your personality, that's your ego, right? Whatever you want that to be, that's the little pains in your body, your injuries, whatever it is, right? It's just a little part. And the big circle around, that is your wholeness. And to see how switching the labels or switching the idea of wholeness as a little place, quiet place inside of me, or is it something bigger than my survival patterns? Right? Something bigger than my personality. And maybe just check in, how does your body receive that? And I'm not going to tell you that there's a right or a wrong, right? Your body's going to tell you. Getting a little shift in perception. What's true for us? What feels better? So approaching this class of just trying to get that mojo moving. Just remembering that we are whole no matter what's going on. And let's start to move. So on an inhale, we're going to take our arms overhead and we're going to take our full body stretch, just waking ourselves up. So you're going to do this in any way that your body's asking for. Rolling wrists, pointing or flexing feet. Maybe you're sticking out your tongue. Maybe you're growling a little bit this morning. There's going to be a point where that feels complete. And you're going to hug your knees towards your body. So take your time. Don't let me rush you. And when your knees come towards your body, hands can be over shins or behind thighs. You can find rocking, circles with the knees. Basically, you're just finding what feels good here for you. And let's take soles of the feet down to the earth. And we're going to do some windshield wiper, taking our feet as wide as the mat. And this is a great one for getting circulation into our hips and our pelvis. We're just going to let your knees tip side to side. And it's okay if your pelvis, right, one side's lifting up and then the other. You feel that weight transferring along the back of your pelvis, maybe over your feet. And you're moving at a pace that serves you. So throughout this class today, maybe it's a little slow and sensual, or maybe it's a little fast, a little sassier. You choose. The next time your knees tip over to the left, let's all go same side. So your knees are tipping to the left. You're just going to pause there. And you may want to adjust your right foot. Okay, so you might want to just kind of move it a little higher, a little closer towards your bum. That may or may not feel good. You're going to check in with your body, right? Listen to your knees, listen to your hips. But moving that heel just kind of a little higher and closer to my bum, now I'm feeling it more on the top of my thigh, my right thigh. And you can breathe your right arm up and maybe turn your temple, your right temple towards the support of your right arm. And breathe into that whole side body stretch. So you're feeling this probably through the whole right side body. And there's a little arch of your spine. Okay, we're not trying to have neutral pelvis. It's like a little rainbow position through our body. We're arcing. Now this feels like enough for me. I'm feeling it. If you were really hyper open and you're not feeling this, you could always take your left foot and gently place it onto the top of your right thigh. So I'm just putting it above my knee, and that's intensifying. I don't know if you guys can see me, but it looks like this. Now for me, that intensifies it a lot. So I'm going to take the weight of that foot off and just go back to the original one now that I've demoed it for you. Okay, you want to take it to a place that feels good. Okay, let's prepare to come out. So take your gaze straight up, lower your right arm, take the foot off if you placed it on, and then just go back to windshield wipering a couple times. Right, just loosen it up and notice if there's any difference between left and right. And then let your knees tip over to the right. We're going to do that on the other side. Okay, so this gets to be as gentle or as deep as you need it to be. And you just make adjustments with your feet. So maybe taking your left foot a little higher and your knee down and away from you. Oh, hello, quadriceps. You want to have it where you can have a nice, easy expression on your face. Okay, and you could breathe your left arm up, just adding that stretch through the whole left side of the body. Maybe you turn your head into the support of your left arm. There's so many ways that you could just make this your own, right? You could bend that elbow, cupping your head. You could reach it straight up. You could add the weight of your right foot. That's way too intense for this side. I'm not even going to demo it on this side. And then you just kind of soften into this. Just because I'm giving you modifications to take it deeper doesn't mean you have to take that deeper experience. Right? Your body, what it says goes. And if I'm ever holding something a little too long, you're always allowed to back out when you need, when your body tells you. Now let's start to all prepare to come out. You can lower the left arm, you can take the gaze up And start to tip your knees back through center. You might need to adjust your spine and your feet, and then just let yourself windshield wiper a little left and right again. And checking in with left side and right side. Good, and then walking your feet so that they're pelvis width apart. So they'd be lined up with your sit bones. And the feet can be a little bit further away. They don't have to be right close like we're doing a bridge. You can give yourself a little more space. We're gonna do our pelvic rocking. So let's connect it to a breath. On the inhale, you're gonna rock your pelvis forward. So you're gonna arch your lower back. You can fit your hands under there. And then on the exhale, you're gonna tuck your pelvis under. Okay, just flattening lower back to earth. And you're gonna move with your breath. Inhale, rock it forward. Exhale, tuck it under. And you're not actually lifting up into bridge. We're just rocking our pelvis along the earth. And again, you can do this slow and sensual, or you can do it fast and sassy. You could have your hands on your belly. You could let your arms drape out off your mat. And throughout this class, feel free to have eyes gently open or closed. This is a great one to just wake up the pelvis, the lower back, getting circulation flowing into that area. It's so good for our second chakra, that center of interpersonal relationship and creativity. And then let that go for a second. Find neutral pelvis. So you feel a little space under your back, right? We're not flattening the lower back. We're not arching it, but you find neutral. Maybe you need to wiggle, find that neutral. And then let's grab our block or your firm pillow, whatever it is, and you're gonna place it between your knees. And so mine's kind of in between my thighs, really. Not right up at the knees, but more at the thighs. And we're gonna do Mula Bandha. So imagine what we were doing where we were trying to stop that flow of urine. But on an exhale, you're gonna do Mula Bandha and you're gonna gently squeeze your block or your pillow. Okay, your belly flattens. And then inhale, I want you to release the squeeze in your pelvic floor and your knees. So just do that. Exhale. You find everything engaging, your inner thighs, your belly, your pelvic floor. And on the inhale, you're letting your belly hang out and you're releasing any work. So this might feel a little reverse, right? The breathing. But we're doing that exhale on the engagement and inhale, releasing. I know it might feel funny. So this is really great for toning our pelvic floor and our core. And so this starts to signal that later when we're doing different postures, that hopefully we'll have a functional core. Like it will just start to engage when needed. Good, I can already feel that. So just letting that go for a second. If you want to do anything to let it go, maybe remove the block for a second, do some windshield wipers, or maybe you would just want to be still and let your knees fall open in a reclined bound angle. That's such a good posture for our reproductive organs. Really inviting some openness and some circulation. Good, and let's play with the block again. Taking the block in between your knees, but this time we're gonna prepare for bridge. And we're gonna do it super slow, segmented bridge with the block in between your knees. Now, we're all different. I'm using it kind of at the wider setting, not the widest, but the middle. You might want to do the thinner one. You're just going to find what works for you in between your thighs. And I'm just finding my shoulder blades, connect those to the earth, looking straight up. I'm going to stop looking at you guys. And preparing for bridge, let's add some breathing to this. So on the inhale, I want you to rock your pelvis forward. Find that lower back arch, belly soft. Exhale, lower your lower back, engage Mula Bandha, squeeze the block and lift up. At the top, you're going to inhale, let your belly expand. Exhale, lower down, top to bottom. Inhale, let your pelvis rock forward, arch your lower back. Exhale, lower lower back to the earth first, and then start to squeeze Mula Bandha, your inner thighs, squeezing that block as you lift. Inhale, belly soft at the top. Exhale to lower down. Okay, so we're inhaling on the break, right, at the top and the bottom. And we're exhaling on the work of lifting up or lowering down. I want you to just continue at your own pace. And if you get lost anywhere, just keep moving. Don't worry about it. And I want you to come to the top and we're going to hold it. So whenever you're there, don't let me rush you. Take your time. Feel the contact points of your feet rooting into the earth. You're squeezing on that little block, but you can still breathe, right? Your belly can still move. You're engaging that pelvic floor. It doesn't need to be a crazy lift, but you feel some energy there, Mula Bandha. If you want to add more into your upper body, you could take your robot arms and you can squeeze your shoulder blades together, really open up through your heart. Let yourself have one more big inhale, and you're going to prepare to come down on your exhale. So sliding your shoulder blades apart, lowering your spine. When you get down to the bottom, release the block out to the side. And do anything that's going to feel good after that. So my body's feeling a little hug. Yours might be windshield wiper, might be that reclined bound angle. We're all unique, we're all whole. And let's prepare to come up to seated, getting there however you can. I can already feel some energy right in my inner thighs and the region of my pelvis and my hips already starting to come alive. And so just finding your easy seated pose, whatever that looks like for your body this morning, adding any props that you need, and start to smile through your collarbone. So just start to loop your shoulders onto your back and let those shoulder blades melt down your back. Reaching up through the crown of your head. And let's do some simple neck circles. So taking right ear to the shoulder, chin down across the chest, left ear to shoulder. Back and forth. And again, you get to decide the rhythm that you're moving at. Slow and sensual, fast and sassy. So I'm feeling a little bit slower today, but if you were kind of fast and sassy today, you could kind of imagine that you were whipping your hair around. Such a great image. Don't hurt your neck though, please. If you have short hair, just imagine you had this long, luscious locks to throw around. The next time your right ear comes over your right shoulder, we're just going to hold it for a couple breaths. And if you want to take this deeper, you could take your left fingertips down to the earth. And we're all different, right? It could be your palm is flat. I've got a long torso, so it's my fingertips for me. And you can play with the angle of your chin. Ooh, find your sweet spot. Breathing into left side of your neck. And you could also invite the image of someone giving you a little kiss on your neck. And let's take it over to the other side. So taking left ear towards left shoulder, shoulders relaxed, still lifting up through your heart. And just take it in stages. Take a couple breaths here, and then you can start to explore those modifications I gave you to go deeper. Right? Maybe taking your right fingertips to earth, or maybe playing with the angle of your chin. Maybe some constant movement is what feels good for your body. That image of someone giving you a little kiss on your neck. And seeing how your body responds to that. And let's bring our head up to neutral. And we're going to move on to hands and knees for cat-cow. This can always be done seated if you're not able to be on your knees today. And if you are able to come onto your hands and knees, make sure you're taking care of them, right? Enough cushion under your knees and making sure your wrists are okay. You always have option of your fists or your forearms if you can't handle this deep flexion for your wrist. And then just start to move your pelvis. So similar to those pelvic rocks that we did, right? On the inhale, we're going to lift the tailbone, arch the lower back, open the heart, look up. Exhale, tuck the pelvis. Round your spine, gaze in between your knees or towards your belly button. Just moving back and forth. Let's just add a little bit onto this, thinking about that Mula Bandha. Okay, we're not going to engage it the whole time. I want you to engage it as you exhale and you round. And as you inhale and your tailbone lifts, I want you to imagine that you're letting that Mula Bandha go and your sit bones are widening, right? You're softening, you're opening. Maybe using some imagery here would work, like a flower or whatever works for you. Okay, so we're just using the core muscles and the pelvic floor on the exhale. And if you feel the urge to pause anywhere and hold for a couple breaths, always listen to that nervous system, listen to your body. Good. Next time your head and your tail is lifted, and you're just going to veer off the train tracks a little bit here. You're going to start to explore any little organic movement, maybe some side-to-side movement, maybe some barrel rolls. Maybe you're shifting your weight back into your knees, pushing into your hands, wiggling, swaying, loosening up through the pelvis, through the spine, through the shoulders. And let's take a rest pose. Just hitting a little reset. It could be child's pose. It could be a more active rest and down dog if you wanted, or it could be coming right down onto your belly and just doing a belly shavasana, maybe rocking your hips side to side. I'm just getting a little bit of pressure off those wrists for a second. And then coming back to tabletop, we'll see if this one is not appropriate because you can't be in tabletop, then I could invite you to just do anything that feels good. Maybe you want to be in a bound angle for a little bit and fold forward. But I don't really have an alternative for this one because not on our hands and knees, but that doesn't matter. If you can't be here, who cares? Do your own thing. So finding tabletop position. We're going to do some fire hydrants, but not in the traditional way that you probably know them, where you're trying to, lift your leg up and tone your butt. We're going to think about more of our pelvic floor. So it's actually going to be super small movement. And you're just going to feel your weight even in both hands or both fists, right? If it's not good for your wrist. And we're going to exhale, engage Mula Bandha. And you're just going to lift one knee like an inch or 2 centimeters off the earth. Try not to shift too much to the opposite side. And you're going to feel your core working. Exhale, lower down. Good. And let's inhale, rest, exhale, lift up the opposite side. You can still breathe when you're up there, but you're keeping that core engaged and you're breathing more into your rib cage, right? Your back body, your chest, because your lower belly is on. Good. Exhale, lower down. Okay, inhale in the rest. Let it be soft. Exhale, lift the opposite knee. So you're thinking about engaging Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor, drawing in and up, your belly. A lot of engagement going on here. We're just toning our pelvic floor and our core. On the inhales, when you can lower the knee and just breathe for a second. Let go of that engagement. Pet that Buddha belly. Try the other side. Then do a couple more on each side at your own pace. So you could do this really quickly, not super fast, but with your breath, right? Inhale, relax. Exhale, lift. Inhale, knee down. Exhale, lift. Or you can hold it. So it just depends what your intention is. You want to hold it for a few breaths and really work those muscles? Or you just want to do it with breath? Right? One movement, one breath. Good. And let's let it go. If you're going to come into child's pose, I'm going to invite you to take your knees nice and wide so your big toes are kissing. And send your bum back towards your heels. Let your body come into that space between your knees. If this is not appropriate for your knees or your body, come onto your belly and do some windshield wipers in belly shavasana. Good. And then coming up to seated. So if it's okay for you to sit on your knees, this is not going to be appropriate for a lot of people's knees. You could be here. You could also come up kneeling, or you could just be seated. Okay, so you choose what's going to be most appropriate for your body for this next one. And grab your block. I'm going to do it kneeling. You guys feel free to take care of your body. And we're going to take the block in between our hands. And we're going to do that kind of, we'll call it our Mojo breath, like a Mula Bandha breath, right? So we're engaging our Mula Bandha. And you're just going to engage it on the exhale, and you're going to squeeze the block. So we're going to exhale, squeeze the block, lift your pelvic floor. And then on the inhale, let the belly hang out, release the pressure on the block. Okay, so the work is on the exhale. That's where we engage everything. And then let yourself have those breaks of the inhale and really let your belly hang out. This helps to train a functional core as well and a functional pelvic floor. Because any muscle, we don't want to just engage it all the time. It's going to weaken over time if it's just tight, 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 tight all the time. So it's important that it learns to, contract when needed or contract when we're doing some work. You might just feel some circulation flooding into your reproductive organs. I'm sending them some love, right? No matter where we're at, no matter what our sexual life looks like or doesn't look like. Good, and let that go. You can set your block aside, and let's come into downward facing dog if this is appropriate. If it's not appropriate for your wrist, you could do this against a wall so it's not as weight bearing, right? Walk yourself down a wall. It would look like this. You could also use forearms, which is more of a dolphin pose, but these are great alternatives if down dog does not work for your wrist. And in your down dog, you're just gonna play with it. So you're taking your booty high up to the sky. Right? You might be high on your tippy toes, and you might be walking the dog, you might be just kind of wagging your tail, or maybe you're twisting a little bit, lowering your booty down. Just finding some nice movement, getting circulation flowing. Feeling that little flush come into your face. So good for all the different glands that are up there in our brain, right? Our pituitary gland. Good, and let's take a nice slow walk towards the top of the mat. Coming into forward fold. Softening up through your knees, let the weight shift into your heels. Just let your body kind of sway and bounce. You want to clasp your elbows. I'm preparing to come all the way up. Two ways we can do this. We can roll up nice and slow. If you have any sort of osteoporosis in your spine, it's better to come up with a straight spine, okay, and really use your core. Good. Let me adjust my camera so you can see my head. There we go. There I am. Hello. And we're going to stand lengthways on our mat. So you're facing the long edge of your mat. You're going to open your feet nice and wide, wider than your shoulders. And let's start by turning toes in, heels out. Okay, so you're a little bit pigeon-toed. And you may want your block handy. Since we have it, we could use it. We'll see, we might need it or not. And you're just gonna start by folding at your hips. I like to press on my hip creases so I really get the action hinging from my hips and not rounding from my waist. And soften up through the backs of your knees. And then just taking your hands either to your thighs or to your block. Maybe your hands are down on the earth, but if that creates any sort of rounding in your spine, then back it out. Find your block, find your thighs. And then we're just gonna kind of tip our hips side to side. So picture where your hip bones are. You're just gonna shift them. So one drops lower and then the other. It doesn't have to be a big movement. This can be a micro movement. You don't want to go so far that you feel like you're pulling something. That's not the point of this class. right? So just gentle, really feel the four corners of your feet. Now I'm keeping my legs straight and just really concentrating this movement in my pelvis. If you need to have a little bit of a bend in your knees, that's okay. You can go slow. So again, you choose. So you can just kind of continue doing this nice and slow, encouraging circulation and some openness in our hips and our pelvis, our inner thighs. And I'm not engaging Mula Bandha here. I'm just letting everything be free and open. You could also try to go a little faster. Root down through those feet and just find kind of a little shimmy. The kids call this twerking. It feels really fun. I don't know how amazing it looks, but it feels fun. Letting it go. And then exhale. Feel free to sink down a little deeper if your body allows for that. And just let go of that movement. Just find your breath. You might want to give a couple squeezes of your pelvic floor. Hello. Let's prepare to come up, root down through your feet. Start to bend your knees so you can bring your hands to your hips and you've got that long, straight back. Lots of core action here. Mula Bandha engaged. Root down through your feet and we're going to use that engagement to lift up. Awesome. Then we're going to turn our feet out, heels in. We're preparing for goddess pose. And, you know, the amount that we open our feet is going to be different for everybody's hips because it really just matters on what the leg bone is doing in the hip socket. You want to have your knees in line with your toes. So if that means you're a little bit narrower, that's okay. That's your goddess. Good. And then just finding that, and you can play a little bit. You don't have to be static here. It's a great one, really charging our leg muscles. And I really love to take my hands onto my thighs and then find a little bit of a twist. So I'm going to just kind of drop my right shoulder into center and push gently on that thigh. And then you could do the same to the other side. And you can just go back and forth. This feels great not only for the hips, but up the spine. And if you're doing this and you feel, you know, a little bit like the Tin Man, like I do, try to embrace some sensuality. It can be challenging for me. Right? Do this twisty goddess like nobody's watching. Let's come up, legs on fire. We're going to use that Mula Bandha lift up and we'll heel toe the feet in and shake out those legs. Shake your hips, shake your arms, throw a little tantrum, let it go. How are we doing time-wise? Good. All right, let's come down to seated. And we're going to do one of my favorite pelvis sequences. We've done this one a lot in my class, the mermaid sequence. So you're going to take your tail out in front of you, your legs out in front of you, and then you're going to tip your knees to the right. I'm mirroring you, I think, depending on, I guess, how your camera is set up. And then your tail, your feet would come over towards your left. So make adjustments so that you really feel that right sit bone rooted. The left one might be hovering, and that's okay. So you can have your knees kind of narrow, or you could open them up a little wider. Okay, so that's just going to be, again, a personal preference for your hips and your pelvis. We're just going to do some moving of our pelvis. So let's start with the cat-cow, where we're just taking it forward and back. Okay, so I'm just moving my pelvis. I'm tipping it forward, I'm tipping it back. Now, I think I'm tipping it forward and back, but if I were really to connect, close my eyes and imagine, the front of my pelvis is my pubic bone. And is it doing a line straight up and down, or is it kind of curving a little bit? I mean, there's no right or wrong. We're just trying to really connect, find that interoception, right? Embodiment. Like, oh, interesting. It's not actually just going straight up and down. It's kind of going up through the center and down a little bit to the left. That's what mine's doing. I don't know what yours is doing. Good, and then let's change it. Let's do more of a twisting motion. Now we're going to take our pelvis, imagine that bowl of your pelvis, and you're going to lift. You're lifting your left butt cheek and you're twisting around, looking over your right shoulder, and then you're going to come back with the pelvis and maybe tuck a little bit. All right, lift, open the belly, twist, come back, and find that C curve. And again, you can do this with your eyes closed and really just try to connect to that bowl of your pelvis between your torso and your legs. Great way to, we're basically moving the pelvis around the leg bones, so we're getting lots of circulation in and around the hips. Is there anywhere that it feels natural to kind of just like let everything hang out? Is there somewhere where you maybe want to add in a little mula bandha somewhere? I'm not going to give you too much instruction. I want you to just feel your freedom here. Good. One more time, lifting, and then we're going to lower, come back through center. And we're going to come into that 90-90 position. So you're just going to kind of open it up so your knee, both knees are in somewhat of 90-degree angles. And then you're going to turn towards that right knee. And you're just going to start to let yourself start to lean over that. So you're feeling this more in your right butt cheek, your piriformis, maybe the outer hip, like a soft pigeon. And whenever your edge moves, you might explore going a little deeper, always with the consent of your body. And when you're here, if you just want to say hello to your genitals, you could always give that little squeeze, right? Infusing them with loving energy, mula bandha. Let's start to prepare to come up. Use your hands to assist you. And just feel that shift that might have happened, right? Holding it a little bit longer. Keep your legs out in front of you. Move in any way that feels good. Maybe you want to puff and open up your chest. Maybe you want a windshield wiper. Maybe you just want to round over your knees and give yourself a little hug. Now let's take that sequence to the other side, your tail out in front, and then we're going to flip the feet towards the right. Find that left sit bone. And again, you're in charge here if your knees are narrow or if you're going to open it up a little bit more. Chances are your right sit bone is floating. That's okay. And let's start with just the cat-cow, so the forward, back, right? Movement of the pelvis, tipping it forward, tucking it under. And if you want to connect with, through the mind, eyes closed, interoception of what's going on in my pubic bone. Right? It's like it's nodding, but is it nodding straight up and down, or is it curving a little bit? And again, it's not like you're doing, okay, I'm going to get this right or I'm going to get it wrong. You're just moving and seeing what is. We're just being curious here. So let's move into the twisting version. As we're lifting the right butt cheek, we're turning around, looking over the left shoulder, and then we're coming back through center. Maybe we're lowering, rounding. You're just making this your own, just exploring that movement. I'm really just trying to envision that we're unlocking any blockages in that second chakra, the area of your sacrum or your lower belly, right there in the bowl of your pelvis. And you're also kind of giving yourself a little butt massage. Are you feeling that? In your left butt cheek, right? Your sit bone, as you're moving your pelvis, kind of like massaging that butt muscle. Good. Let's let that go, and let's open up our feet a little bit more, 90-90, just giving yourself a little bit more space and making any adjustments. So I'm pulling some goodness back and away to find that left sit bone. And then I'm going to straddle that left knee and just start to lean forward. Already feeling that this one's a little bit more tight. It's asking for me to be a little bit more slow, conscious. I'm really going to wait and breathe into this side. Right, respecting the boundaries that it's giving me. Feel free at any time to engage Mula Bandha. If you want a little extra shot of some hey yo, hello, mojo. And let's start to slowly back out. And again, just having held that for a little bit longer, notice any shift that happened in your mind, in your body, right? You might have dropped down into that ventral vagal state, parasympathetic state. We're just feeling nicely connected and relaxed. You might feel a couple yawns or sighs coming on. And we're coming down onto our backs. So you can get there using control, right? Organization of our body. It's not all about the muscles, but it's how we organize our pelvis to roll down, maybe hands on the back of the legs, heels start to slide a little closer, letting the spine unfurl onto the earth. We're coming into Shavasana. But if you feel like you want to just rest for a couple breaths, in a reclined bound angle. Feel free, notice how that feels. You're always welcome to stay in reclined bound angle if that feels good. You would always add some cushions under your knees or right up there by your thighs, your outer thighs. Whenever you're ready to move completely into Shavasana, you do so. And wherever you are, whether it's reclined Baddha Konasana or you're in Shavasana, I'm just going to let everything soften. And let a little smile spread across your face. And just start to bring awareness back to breath. Back from wherever your mind wandered off to. Let it focus on the breath moving in and out of the body. If you're still in that reclined bound angle, you're going to reach your hands down and help your legs together. And if you're in Shavasana, you're just going to start to wiggle fingers and toes. We're just gently starting to release whatever posture we were in. And just see where that takes you. When you're ready to start to integrate back into your day, roll over to one side and just give yourself the time to pause here, curl into a little ball. And maybe just use your bottom arm to support your head, and your top hand could massage anywhere that needs some loving touch. I'm feeling a connection between your pelvic floor all the way up to your heart and your brain, your mind. And let's start to help ourselves up to seated. Seeing where this day will take us. Coming into easy seated pose, and we're going to close our practice together, taking our hands together in front of our heart. Maybe just taking an inhale to puff up your chest a little bit, and then exhale, bow your head forward. Thank you for playing with me. Namaste.